Hello everyone, welcome to lesson 6, create sheets and place views. Up to now, we've explored selecting and modifying elements, but in this lesson, we move into documentation automation, creating sheets and placing views using Python inside Dynamo. This will save you massive time when setting up drawing sets in Revit. For the first part, we create a new sheet with a title block. I have already placed a Python script. Let's edit it. I'm going to clear this up to the line 1 and start writing. First of all, we import CLR, which stands for Common Language Runtime, and from there we use add references to add external assemblies. For the first one, I'm going to add Revit services. Another one which is necessary for this script is Revit API. And then we need Revit nodes. We import Revit, and again from CLR we import external extension, which is Revit elements. Revit.elements. And as always, from Revit services dot persistence we import document manager, and again from Revit services dot transactions we import transaction manager. And from Autodesk dot Revit dot database we import all. And now we need to get the current document. Document manager dot instance. From all the available instances, let me get the current database document. To create a sheet, we need a family of title blocks. So I'm going to set this as a first input. I'm going to name it title block. And since we are importing an element from Revit, we need to unwrap it. So I'm going to say unwrap element as our first input. Now let's get back to the Dynamo, search for family type node, And let's see what kind of title block do we have. Title block number 1, and wire it to the first input. Now we need to start transaction. So we say transaction manager instance ensure in transaction as an argument, of course, in this document. Now we need to create a new sheet with the given title block. We need to create a new variable. I'm going to name it new underscore sheet, and as a creation method we use view sheet dot create, and as an argument it needs our document and ID of our title block. And we need to close the transaction, so we say transaction manager dot instance dot transaction task done. And of course, as an output we say new sheet dot to ds type, and as an argument it should be set to false. This is a method that converts a Revit API object into a Dynamo node compatible element, passed to Dynamo's output port and used in the Dynamo environment. So I think we are good to go. I'm going to save this. And inside Revit, as you can see, we don't have any sheet. And let's save and run Dynamo. As you can see, we have created a sheet inside Revit using Python inside Dynamo. For the second part, we are going to add a view to the sheet. I'm going to copy this Python node here. For this one, basically we need 3 inputs. So let's add to the Python script. And we go to edit the Python. I'm going to clear this up to line 16. We don't need this. So for the input, we are going to have our view, and of course we need to unwrap our elements. As a first input, and second one is of course our sheet. And a point. As our final input. However, we are going to create point inside Dynamo, so we need to convert Dynamo point to Revit XYZ. For that case, we are going to create a variable, name it location, xyz, and as an argument we need these 3 points. Of course I was not looking for this one here. Point dot y, if I get it right, point dot z. So before we get any further, let me explain you something about the location. Let's open our created sheet here. We need to specify a point where we are going to place our view. For this one, we are going to place first of all a view where we want to. Let's specify this location here, and to specify the point, we can select our views inside the sheet and go back to Revit LookUp and Snoop selection. And from here, we can find out the XYZ of the location. As you can see, get box center, it is set to 1.2, 0.1, 0.9, 0.03. All right. So we go back to the Dynamo. We search for point dot by coordinates. We look for number. Let me copy this a couple of times. Let's set this to 1.2, 1, and 0.03. Let's round those number up. Right. Let me freeze the previous node here. Let me run once. And if I let me create the sheet again. All right. We've got our point. And that was our last input, right? And we had view and our sheet. Let's search for views, and I'm going to place level 0 and sheets, the one that we have already created. Now let me freeze this node again and go back to our Python script. So from here we need to start our transaction. Transaction manager dot instance dot ensure in transaction as an argument in this document. And we need the creation method, so we name it viewport. viewport dot create, and as an argument we need to specify the document where we are working, the sheet, the ID of it, view, and the location. That's it, and we close transaction by saying transaction manager dot instance dot transaction task done. And as an output, we say viewport dot 2ds type as an argument, set it to false. Alright, let's go back to our Revit. As you can see, we don't have any views placed on the sheet, and we're going to save and run the script. Let's see, number 24, line number 24. I misspelled this one here. This is the viewport. As you can see, we placed our view inside the sheet. And of course, in the real world, you don't really write such a script to create just one sheet and place one view on it. But this is the basics. In the future, we will dig up more about complicated scripts. For the final part of this lesson, let's go and rename sheet and set sheet number. Let me copy this Python again. We need 3 inputs for this one as well. Let's edit it. We don't need the lines till this one. We need to get our sheet and of course unwrap it. And as a second and final input, we set our number and name. These variables, since we are creating inside Dynamo, we don't need them to unwrap. So we don't unwrap them. Let's go back to Dynamo. Let's search for out-of-box node sheets and select our sheet. I'm going to bring out a code block and set our name of the sheet. I'm going to set it like this. And let's say first floor plan. This is our number, and this is our name. Let's go back to the Python. We had it already open, and let's start transaction. Transaction manager dot instance dot ensure in transaction, and as a method creation or renaming, we say for the sheet give me the sheet number and set it to our variable number, and the same for the name. And from here we close our transaction. Transaction task done. And as an output, as we've seen twice in this lesson, we say sheet to this type, as an argument set it to false. Inside Revit, as you can see, we have our number and name set to these digits, and if I hit run, we have changed the name and number of the sheet that we had created. In this lesson, you learn to create sheets from Python, place views onto those sheets, and rename or renumber the sheets. This is powerful for automating documentation tasks, especially for large projects. Obviously, when it comes to bulk sheet creating, placing views, and renaming sheets, there is much more work to fulfill. But now we know the rudimentary of the topics that we cover today. In the lesson 7, we will dive into reading and writing parameters on views and sheets, so you can further automate your drawing sheets metadata.